because we do not even have a forum in which to discuss a transatlantic Eastern policy, which is, of course, of which a big component is a transatlantic Russia policy. And the instrument that was mentioned a couple of times, you know, civil society, Eastern Partnership, the trade, these instruments, if anywhere, are at home in the European Union's arsenal. And I don't think that EU-US summits really strategically address the question of Eastern policy helping civil society in the East, and also how to cope with the smiling face rollback of the color revolutions policy that's going on in Russia at the moment. So I think we have to be smart and come up with an idea of how to address that issue, in which forum to address the issue together with the United States. And to develop some kind of minimal common vision vis-a-vis the East. You know, if I had the solution, I would have written a paper about this.
Maybe Ambassador Cornwall will have. He knows the American diplomacy inside out, and maybe could be of some help here.
Gyarmati, do you want the mic back, or should I give it?
I want the mic back. For Ambassador.
Actually, I'm writing a paper on this subject.
Please distribute.
Istvan and I are members of a group called the Euro-Atlantic Security Initiative. And we have focused a great deal exactly on these issues.
Is it Senator Nunn, Ivanov, and Ischinger group?
That's it. And our paper is going to focus, we just finished a meeting where I think our paper is going to focus on civil society. But it's going to have some elements in it which haven't been discussed here and which may be difficult for some people. In the first place, one of the elements is going to be Russia is a country which is an important factor in this region, and we have to help it become a positive important factor. Most of what we've been talking about, including some of the comments here, have been trying to keep Russia out of one's business. That can never work. The problem is that Russia has not made itself eligible to be a partner in this region because of its behavior. We know that. But we can't simply sit there and tell the Russians not to be Russians. In other words, there has to be a development of civil society in this region. That's point one. Point two, the biggest failure here, this is where many people won't agree with me, is the European Union. The European Union has forgotten its mandate as a developer of civil society, and it's tried over the past 20 years since, I can even pinpoint the date for you since I was there, the London summit of NATO in 1990, the European Union declared that it was going to become a union of nations with its own separate foreign and security policy. Since then, there has been nothing but competition, disagreement, and inefficiency across the Atlantic. The European Union wouldn't even talk to the OSCE for over 15 years. It wasn't possible to have any kind of security discussions about the subjects you're talking about because the European Union wouldn't agree to do them in NATO. We have a perfect forum for this. It's called NATO. That's what it was established for, to defend Europe against Russian threats,
Soviet.
And Soviet threats, Russian to me, and to build a framework for doing exactly what we did for overcoming the Soviet Union and building democracy all the way out to the Russian border. The European Union has neglected this. It has tried to be a competitor to NATO rather than a cooperative member. It has neither the resources nor the structure to do this, and so the end is that we've ended up with no cooperation whatsoever. You're very right. The place to do this is in NATO. European security and defense policy is disappearing rapidly in any case, unfortunately, but it is. And European defense contributions are disappearing rapidly. And so in the end, we're going to have to come up with a different kind of approach. The approach that we think is the correct one in our initiative is that we in fact join the United States, the European Union, and Russia together with the countries of the regions to build civil society there. And the tool that we can use to do this is, of course, the OSCE, another organization with which the European Union has neglected and even actively fought against for many years. If you go to Vienna, as we did about 2 months ago, a month ago, talk to the OSCE Secretariat, which is filled with, by the way, people from the European Union, they will tell you how the EU has been undermining the OSCE for years. So there is a new concept here. It is called civil society, but the new concept really has to be to find a way for the European Union to remember the civil society goal of the European Union shouldn't be membership. The trouble is the European Union only has one tool, and that's membership. It should be working together to build civil society. The United States is more than ready to do this. The Russians, I think, could be convinced that that's their interest, because they have a real problem with their own civil society. It's called the North Caucasus, which is going to explode in their faces at any moment. It is really the question, and this is what I said in the other discussion, Poland is going to be the presidency. Poland is of this region. Poland is the strongest democracy in this region, and maybe you can help move the EU forward to building this civil society.
Okay, thank you very much. We will not tell the Czechs that you called Poland the strongest democracy, because they can be upset.
Still my view.
Ambassador, I think that we have to complete this meeting, which was fascinating, and I found so many interesting opinions. I would tell one thing. There are weaknesses of the Eastern Partnership, which are obvious. But I will tell you, as a result of Eastern Partnership project, never from Portugal to Scandinavia and to Baltic states, never Eastern policy was not at the center of attention of European Union than it is at the moment. And even when you look at what happened with the Arab Spring, there were voices that because of what has happened and because of truly existential dimension of what has happened in Arab countries, the resources should be pushed towards the south at the expense of the east. It did not happen, and the communique, that means European Union communique, is pretty balanced. So I think it did, first of all, Eastern Partnership as the project did play its political role of making the Western Europe and the countries far away from our shores aware of the necessity to get engaged. Secondly, civil society. We did build Eastern Partnership Civil Society Forum, and it's working. Better or worse, it depends on people. They are resourced, and it's working. The EU-Russia Civil Society Forum was formed only a few months ago, and it already was harassed yesterday in Nizhny Novgorod when there is a EU-Russia summit, and the police have harassed the activists, independent activists of that. So it proves its importance and its usefulness in a way. However, so I wouldn't discourage, but when dissidents, and I was a dissident in my times, discuss with the people who have responsibility for the state politics, for obvious reasons, both sides do not understand each other. The necessity to conduct diplomacy, and then you talk to the state authorities. You do talk to state authorities. And the necessity to support the civil society, for that we have to develop different means, among them the new European Endowment for Democracy, Community of Democracies, OSCE, Human Rights Ombudsman, Council of Europe. We have the tools, we have to use them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank the members of the panel for their participation. Thank you very much.